Uh, Good. Welcome back again. Today we'll be looking at two items. First, to solve question 3 of throughput accounting and start activity-based costing. So now let's go straight and then look at the question number 3 for the throughput accounting. So question 3, but for those who tried working it out to be a bit okay for you. Good. So question 3. We will go through the requirements first and then we will see. So let's see the requirements. Now it read, calculate the machine utilization rate per month for each machine and explain which of the machines is what? The bottleneck or limiting factor. The bottleneck or the limiting factor. The examiner informed the bottleneck or limiting factor. That's good. Then the second part states that using current system, the marginal cost system and contribution analysis, calculate the profit maximizing monthly output of the three products. Then third one, explain why throughput accounting might provide more relevant information. And then the last one is using throughput approach, calculate what throughput maximizing monthly output. That's the question before us. Great. So let's see how best we can
Unless you don't like
interact with.
just drinks.
Great.
Right. You just don't like
Great. Please, if you have any question, you can use the reactions so that move the class faster. So now let's get started again. So A part, machine utilization rate. So A, good. So A, machine utilization rate. Great. So that is it. Machine utilization rate. Then we will, as usual, as we did for the last question, So we will start by writing the product. So let's go to the question and look for the product and look for the resources. That's the machines. Once they say machine utilization rate, then basically they are looking for which of the machines will be what the bottleneck. So now let's start the whole show. In fact, in exams, as soon as you read the requirements, you just start working on it. You just go straight forward and go look for what you are looking for. The remaining items are not needed. So if I should solve this and the exam condition, I'll just go straight forward and look for a rate. But for teaching purposes, I'll read all of them. Now I start. KYC Limited makes three products. So hand chew, that's HC, yogurt swallow YS, can lick CL. All three products are sold as a package and so are offered for sale each month in order to be able to provide a complete market service. The products are fragile and their quality deteriorate rapidly once they are manufactured. The products are produced in two types of machines worked on by a single grade of direct labor. Five direct employees are paid 8 Ghana cedis per hour for a guaranteed minimum of 160 hours each per month. All of the products are first modeled on machine type 1, then finished and sealed on machine type 2. The machine hour requirement for each of the products are as follows. Now, anytime the examiner you are solving throughput or limiting factor and they are giving you labor hours, labor rate, then you quickly check the question. If the operating cost given to you in a question, it contains labor. You can see labor cost here. It has already been calculated, so we don't need those extra calculation. So it's just there for formalities and attract students. So if you go and pick it and start 160 hours per month, so you start calculating it, no, that's not what they are looking for. Uh-huh. So that is it. Now, product AC. So if they want to produce each unit of AC, they need 1.5 machine type 1 watt hours. And then all of them are there. So we can get clearly. Now, they are saying that the capacity of the available machine type 1 and type 2 are 600 and what 500 hours per month, respectively. So these are what you're going to use to calculate what the capacity. So this is what we have. So we have to use this to calculate what we need. And then we now find which of the machine is what a bottleneck. Great. Now details of selling price, unit cost, and monthly demand for the three products as follows. So all of them are there. Selling price. Now component cost form part of material cost. So the material costs on these questions are two: components and what other direct material cost. Great. Direct material cost is 8 Ghana cedis per hour. So each hour will be what? So you can divide together per hour, but we are not looking for that. Great, because they have what? More labor hours. Now, to know which of the item to test as limiting factor, it depends on the maximum, the capacity of the resources available. You realize that here they did not mention labor hours available. They didn't mention labor hours. So it means that they have abundance of what labor hours. They just mentioned the capacity of available of machine type 1, type 2. They didn't say labor hours. So labor hours is what in abundance. So those that have a limited quantity, they'll let you know. Great. So now let's continue. Monthly demand. No, overheads are there. These overheads are the fixed costs. Profit 16, 34, 22. All of them are there. Maximum demand. Please, in some question, you see maximum demand and minimum demand. Please, we pick the maximum, not the average. So anywhere you see maximum demand and minimum demand at the same time, in your mock, you will see it. In your mock questions, you will see maximum demand, minimum demand. Don't go and select the average or select the minimum. Select the maximum, as you can see here. Although KYC Limited uses marginal costing and contribution analysis as the basis for its decision-making activities, we did marginal and absorption costing clearly. Great. Profits are reported in monthly managerial account using what? Absorption costing basis. Finished goods, that's inventory, are valued on monthly management accounts at full absorption costing. We are done. All these facts are not interested. But the fact that you need to solve this question are this part where the table, the figures, for that one is not all in this particular section. That's the important section. The rest are not part of the question. Yes. Overflow information are allowed. Now we know the products HC, YS, and CL. So now let's go to the board. we will start with the product. HC. HC. So HC. YS. In fact, I have to create enough space for the other section because they're looking for two items there. So let's create enough section. So CH, right? First product HC, YS, and then CL. Great. So we start machine type 1. So machine type what? 1. That is it. So machine type 1. Then machine type 2. So machine type 2. So we are now going to determine the machine utilization rate to determine the limiting factor. And that should be our first step that we have to look out for when we are doing the throughputs. But here they've asked that as a requirement. So this examiner was very good typo. Yes, so he has asked that in a requirement for 4 marks, which is very good. Meanwhile, we don't ask. It's part of the steps, but we have asked you separately, giving you a separate marks. So that's good news at the side of the examiner. So let's see how best we can do this. Now, you pick the demand for HC and then multiply it by the requirement of the each one, then we get what the requirement or what we need, the hours required. Now let's see. So the demand for HC is what? 120, right? When we go down, maximum demand is what? 120. So we pick the 120. In fact, let me write them down here. So that's 120, 70, and what? And 60. So that's then we go up and go and pick the resource requirement. So machine type 1, we need what? 1.5 R per what unit. So we multiply by what? The 120, right? So 1.5 times 120 will give us that's 180, right? Great. So here will be 180. Agreed. Good. Then go and pick the second product or the next one. The same product, when it comes to machine type 2, it requires what? 1 hour. So 1 hour is here. I hope you get it. So for 1 hour, in fact, you can do it product by product or machine by machine. Anyhow you do it to get the figures correct for us, we don't worry much about it. Great. So 1 by 120 will still give us what? 120 hours. So great. In fact, if here you get this some of this calculation wrong, it may follow you to the subsequent one. So try as much as possible to get this calculation correct. Good. Now let's see. So if you go to that of product YS, we need 4.5. But what's the demand? Demand is 70, right? So if the demand is 70 and now we need 4.5 hours, then what will be the total hours required? So 4.5 times what? 70. 315, right? Okay, great. Then you go to that of machine type 2, we need 2.5. So 2.5 will be so by 70. So that will be 175. So have you seen how we are recording it? That's the same way when your exams comes to you also do it. Now the next one is what? CL. We need 3 hours and 2 and the demand is 60. So 3 hours and 2. So demand is 60. So 60 by 3 will give us what? 180. 60 by 2 will give us what? 120. Now we are done. So right after this, what do? We sum them up machine by machine because we are looking for what? Machine hours. We are not looking for total hours required to produce all the AC. No, we're looking for machine hours. So let's sum them. Let's sum them horizontally and then let's see. 675. So here we are getting 675. So I normally write what we need, right? I normally write here what we need. 7. 415. Okay, yes, 415. 415. And here is 6. It's coming going that sign. So I think you mentioned 6 something, but yes, I didn't put it down. Great. 675. 675. Please, the technical name for this is called requirements. So resource requirements. So what we require in order to make our maximum demand happen or available. So that's what we need. But I call it what we need. We need these hours. So it's in hours. Now let's compare it to what we have that's available. So let's go to the question and go and pick what we have. What we have. So we have 600 and 500 respectively, right? So here, yeah, here, nicely, good. So 600 and 500. So have you seen that the question is not too difficult? So available. So 600 and what? 500. Don't forget that the examiner said calculate what? Machine utilization rates. And use this one to determine what? The bottleneck what? Resource. Good. So now what will be the machine utilization rate? So therefore, utilization rate will be what? For machine type 1. So for type 1, to get the utilization rate, it is what you need over what you have. What you what need. So like what the resource that you need. So divide the requirement, that's what you need, divide by what you have, and then you are done. They're available. So that's how you calculate the utilization rate. In fact, in exams, if we're unable to calculate it, don't worry. The final answer will determine which of these resources is what a limiting factor. How you can clearly see that one of them is what a limiting factor. Is it machine type 2 or type 1? It's type 2, right? Machine type 2 is what? It's a limiting factor. I think I've done my game again. Oh. Machine type 2, eh? Are you sure? Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's machine type 1.
Yeah, it's machine type 1, not machine type 2. Machine type 2, we need 415, but we have 500 there, so it's more. But machine type 1, we need 675, I have 600, so we are lacking by what? 75 hours. So it's machine type 1. And the calculation will show. So even here, we have 675 divided by 600. That's for machine type 1 times 100. Then machine type 2 will be what? 415 divided by what? 500 times what? 100. So what will be the answer? Good. So 675 divided by. Yes, so it will be more than 100. No, it's not wrong. So 100 and what? 12.5%. That means if we say we are going to produce it, we will overutilize it. That means the capacity is not enough. That's a limiting factor. This one will be less than 100. That means we are underutilizing it. Which is what? 83. 83, right? So which of this, according to the percentage, the one that which is more than 100, more than what? 100% is the limiting factor. Clearly, the resources that we need, it has been identified. So when we end here and say therefore machine type what? 1 is what? The limiting factor. Then you get your 4 marks.
Down, okay.
Doing this is what? the 4 marks, score your 4 marks. So this is what we need. How we get it? Nothing difficult. So get it. Even though there are a lot of stuff given to you in the question, but according to the requirement, this is what we need, not the other stuff presented in the question. Uh-huh. So that is it. So since they have overutilized, but machine type 2 is underutilized. They've utilized it about 83% of its capacity. But now for machine type 1, we're using over 100%. So that means it has been what? Overutilized. So that is it. And then you'll be fine. That's great. Now let's continue with the question. Now let's continue with what the question. So A, or the first part I is gone. We've cleared it. Calculate the machine utilization rate per month for each of the machines. So we've done it. And determine and explain. They say explain which of the machine is what bottleneck or limiting factor. Like I said, is the one that we have the utilization rate as what exceeded 100%. Since the utilization rate exceeded 100% is a what? A bottleneck resource. Or since the resource requirement is more than the resource what available is what? A limiting factor. So two folds. All of them are what? Correct. You are done. Now the second one. The second requirement states that using the current system of marginal costing contribution analysis, calculate the profit maximizing monthly output for the three products. So that one, the steps that we know for that of throughput, the same step we are going to use, but just that here, the underlying factor is what? Contribution. We are going to meet this question again under limiting factor analysis. So take now let's clean the board and then get it done. Great. So now let's see. Production plan. Production plan. So I. So production plan. Production what? Plan. Into brackets, we are using what?
Hello.
Contribution method.
Hello.
It is same as limiting factor. So when I go to limiting factor, I've already done it here, so we are not going to treat it again. Contribution approach. The CONT is a contribution. Please, no shortcut in exams. Let me do it this way. That means you can't do that in exams. Now the products. Now the steps is the same steps that we do for throughput, using throughput. So for throughput, we start with what? Step one, determine the limiting factor. And we've done that in the very first requirement. So the limiting factor has been what? Identified to be the machine type 1. So the step 2, calculate the throughput by here to what? Contribution. And we did contribution under what? The marginal cost system. When I did the marginal absorption costing. Good. Now let's see. So what are the products? So let's look at the products. So here, you don't need to repeat the limiting factor here because you have been asked to calculate for it. So there's no need for you to repeat it again. And I will mark it because we've done it already. Great. Now what are the products? The products are HC, right? HC, YS, and then CL. These are the products. Great. Now to find contribution is equal to what? How do you find contribution? Sales minus what? Variable cost. So selling price or the sales. So we go to sales price and we list all the variable costs. Then put them in brackets. Now let's go to the question. Or if you have the hard copy too, you can flow with me. If you have the hard copy, you can flow with me. Good. Now, according to the question, the selling price is what? 91, 174, and 140. So let me record them. Don't forget your currency. So here will be what? 91, 174, 4, 140. So that's the what? The sales. That's the sales rate. So 91, you say less what? The variable cost. So you are going to list all the variable costs because contribution is equal to what? Sales minus what? The variable cost. So let's go to the question and let's assemble all the variable costs that we have. Then we are done. Now, variable cost is all the what? Direct cost except the fixed cost. So now let's see. Component will be parts. So components, all right, component here. And then component is 22, 19, 16. So 22, 19, 16. Then what again? We have other material costs. Also be part, that's material. Other material costs. That one too is what? 23, 11, 14. 23, 11, 14. Then lastly, we have direct labor cost. Please, the overheads over here are fixed costs. The overheads are fixed costs. Why are they fixed costs? The overheads are fixed costs. Now, we're told that although the company uses what marginal costing and contribution what analysis as the management account, what we have there is the management account. So what they prepared here is the management account. This one is the management account. Great. Now, if this is the management account, then if you use what? The marginal cost system. And you know that for marginal cost system, right after the direct labor, the fixed cost does not form part of the production cost. So the overheads becomes what? The fixed costs. And then you are done. I hope you get that. Good, right? So that's great. So now let's go to the board to continue the recording. So it will end at the direct labor cost. That's great. Good. So the labor costs are 648 and 36. So they are so labor costs 648 and what? 36, right? Great. So 36. But please don't forget to put them in bracket because we say what? Less. Let's put them in brackets. Other than that, we have to create two currencies for them. Our time might not be at our side. Kindly show all the workings. So if you don't want trouble, do this for us and you'll be fine. So this becomes what? The contribution per unit. So contribution what? Per unit. So what will be the contribution per unit? So can tell me the contribution per unit. So the contribution per unit will be for the first one is 40, right? That's great. So contribution per unit is 40 for the first one. What about the second one? So 174 less 19 less 11 less 48. You say 96. Okay, I'll take that 48, 30. So 96. And then the last one will be, and then the next one will be 140 less what? 30 less 36. Good. Then we have 74. Okay, that's fine. So 74. So this is the contribution per unit. So that's the second step. Under the throughput, we say step 1, determine the limiting factor. If we already determine it, so we shouldn't come and then do it here again. Double work. Step 2, because you determine it, we're giving you 4 marks. That 4 marks now is enough. Step 2, determine the throughput. But here, we're using contribution. So contribution per unit to be what? That's what we calculated. Step 3, you're supposed to use what? Throughput per limiting factor, right? But here to be what? Contribution per what? Limiting factor. So you have to bring the limiting factor here. Limiting factor. Or if we like, we can what? We can name it that machine type. We can name it machine type 1. We can just name it machine type what? 1. Because we know that that is the limiting factor. Once you know that that is the limiting factor, then there's no need for you to be repeating limiting factor, or you can just bring the name of the machine and then you are done. So anyhow you put it, we are okay. We are okay. So let's go to the question and go and bring the limiting factor. That's machine type 1, the requirement. So go to the question. Locate machine type 1. What's machine type 1? Machine type 1, we need 1.5. So to be 1.5, 4.5, and what? 3. So 1.5, 4.5, and 3. So here will be 1.5, 4.5, and then 3. So that is it. And 3. So these are in hours. So if you don't want trouble, put H here, representing what? Hours. So they are in hours. That's great. Now let's see. So therefore, what will be the contribution per limiting factor? Yeah, so contribution per limiting factor will be contribution per limiting factor. So 40. In fact, the answer that we have to tell the examiner, you have to tell the examiner that these answers are in CD per what? Per hour. Oh, I've cleaned the limiting factor. So contribution coming in the factor. So in the bracket, Ghana cedis per hour. So these answers are cedis per hour. So here we go 26. So 26.67. Then 96 divided by 4.5. And that will give us so 21.33. Great. Then lastly, 74 divided by 3. That will give us good. So 24.67. Now, so this is the step 2. Step 3. In exam, don't be writing the steps against it. So in exam, this is how you want it. So these are the exam standard formats, how we want the solution to look like. Great. Now we are done with the tuition phase. So any question that I pick, I'll solve it as if it's an exam. So this is how we want it in exams. Nothing else, nothing more. This is how we want it. So you can just take the picture like this and then just present it there for us and then you'll be fine. Or if you have any other way that you can help you to get the same figures, the same final answers, but probably smarter way, why not? Develop it and then bring it on board. We will like it. Good. Now the next step is what? That's a step 4. Step 4 is what? Ranking, right? So we have to rank it. So here to rank. Ranking. Now, which of these is the highest one? 24, eh? Between this and this. But all of them to this one, right? Okay, so first. So in second, this guy, right? Second, and then third, right? Okay. So therefore, we are done with this aspect. Can we get to up to this aspect so that we'll go and then do the final one the next day? So copy up to this section, then I'll continue the next one. Now let's continue to the next one. That's the resource allocation and what optimal optimal production plan. Over there, I want us to use the nice table. So the table that starts with what? The rank first, and then the product, the name of what? The product, the unit, limiting factor per unit, and what? Total limiting factor, or the total, but not the shell. So this will be the final answer. There are three products. So the ranks are three. First, second, third. So what we do is we will start. Sorry. Now, okay. So the first product was what? HC, right? HC is called first. And then the third product was what? CL, right? Second product was CL. And then Y is confirmed for me. First was AC, third was CL, and this. So let's start with the unit, the demand. So what's the demand for AC? Let's go to the question quickly. Demand for AC. Demand for AC. Demand for AC is 120. So 120. So that's the demand for AC. And the limiting factor per unit is what? For AC, limiting factor is 1.5, right? Yes, that's 1.5. Great. So 1.5. So therefore, the total limiting factor will be what? 180. Then you are done. Then you come to the second product, that's CL. CL scores second. So what's the demand for CL? Demand for CL is what? 70. So you are going to produce all the 70. And the limiting factor is what? 4.5. So 70 and 4.5. So 70 here, 4.5 here. Then what do we do? Then we will
Yes, sir.
multiply.
Yes, sir.
Then what do we get? 70 by
Hello.
4.5.
Hello.
Yes, please. So 70 times 4.5. That's 315. Good. So here will be 315. Don't forget that we only have what? 600 hours, right? So once you have the 600 hours, that's the total. Total hours available. Total hours. Total hours. So the difference is what? 135. 135. So that's the hours that we have, the remainder. So from there, then we find the difference. So we find the difference. Okay, I think there was a question. Let me go and pick the question up. So now for CL, the limiting factor was 3. But not the 4.5. 4.5 is for YS, right? Great. So let's make the changes. That's great. Now 3. So that would be 3 by, so to give us 210, right? Good. So 210 to give us 210 to give us 210. Then what about the remainder? So 180 plus the 210, that will give us 390, right? Then we take it from 600. So 600 less what? 600 less 390, 210. They're not wrong though. Then what's the limiting factor? Here that was what? 4.5. So we divide and get the number of what units to the nearest whole number. If you're getting decimals, it's 47, right? No point.
No, it's 46.67.
Okay, so 47 units. Good. So 47 units. You are done. So that is the solution to that question. So when you are done, like I always say, if you end it there, I will find some marks and then deduct from it because I cannot read from the table. So now tell the examiner that the production plan. So production what plan or the number of units they should produce will be just as some of them here. They start with HC, YS, and then CL. So you start units. So HC is what 120 units, and then YS is what 47, and then finally the 170, CL is 70. Then you are done. This is the answer to the second part of the question. So far you've scored yourself how many? 9 marks. So if you do this in exam 5 for the second one, and then 4 for the first one, making 9 marks. That's very good though. 9 marks. Then left with how many marks? 41, right? But Godfrey, do you have a question again? Can see your hand up. If you do,
It was the previous one.
okay, great. So that is it. Now let's continue with the question. So kindly take note of it and then you will be fine. Now let's see the next question. Now the next question is saying that explain. That one I'll still leave it for you because it's in the question 1. So that explain why throughput accounting might provide more relevant information in KY circumstance. The guy is using marginal costing, right? Yes, so why would this throughput provide more relevant? And we are just asking you the importance of what throughput. So look for any important that you know. 2 of them, okay, explain them well, you get your 4 marks, you are done. Or give us 4 solid points for the 4 marks. You are also true. Now let me do the last one. The last one states that using throughput approach, calculate what? Throughput maximizing what? Monthly output. So that is it. So throughput approach. So that's the second part. So using throughput. So the same thing, the same procedure again. So now since we are going to repeat the same procedure with the throughput approach, I'll be a bit what? Fast. So take note for me. Now let's see. Step 1. Identify the limiting factor. The limiting factor has been already identified in the very first one. So there's no need for us to do it again. So step 2, calculate the throughput by limiting factor. So the last requirement that we are doing, we will call it production plan. Using what? Bracket throughput, right? Good, throughput accounting. Now one, two, we start. First product HC, YS, and what? CL. Now to calculate throughput, you start your selling price. or your sales. Normally they'll call it sales, but it should be selling price per unit. Sales per unit. That's good. Sales per unit. So per unit. We know to be 91, 170, 174, and 140. Then for this question, we saw that there was two material costs. For throughput is nothing by sales minus what all the material costs. In fact, your examiners are a bit tricky and smart. So I've studied both the component costs and other material costs. All of them are material. So expect question like that, where there will be some level of new issues. So I can assure you that at least up to 10% of your question that you are going to see are new. You've not seen it anywhere before. 10% of your question is new. But if you are the type that you like solving a lot of questions, you realize that all the questions are not new to you. But if you don't like solving questions, then definitely, in fact, I won't be surprised that 80% of the question will still be new. Yes. If you don't solve questions. But if you solve questions, yes. There was a certain that there was a question that we solved, and then they went and that question was there. So imagine you are the one that's doing that question. What do you do? Yes. So that one, what you do is that you throw the question paper away and start remembering the figures, right? Call it photographic memory. Those that have the photographic memory, they will scan it and just close their eyes and remember what you wrote on the board, and then they start writing it. Now components. So component cost and then the other material costs. Other material costs. So these are the material costs. These are the material costs. So let's go to the question. What are the component costs? So the component costs are 22. So 22, 19, 16. Good. Then but we have input here less what? Less material cost. So coming that one because you are less in material cost to get the throughput. So what's the other component cost? The other component cost is for 10, 10, and then other material cost, not 10, so 23, 11, and 14. Good. So what is the throughput? So throughput per what units? So the throughput per unit will be CL is 110, so 110.
Is it minus?
Yeah. So 46, 144. Now we are able to determine the throughput per unit. So the next one is what? Bringing the limiting factor in. So you have the limiting factor. Limiting factor. Let me write it in full. Now you know that limiting factor was what? The machine type what? Type 1. Now let's see machine type 1. So the limiting factor, that's 1.5, 4.5, and 3. So 1, 4, 3. So 1.5, 4.5, and what? 3. They are in hours, so you can do something to indicate that it's in hours. Meanwhile, all of these are in Ghana cedis, or you can write beside them. Good. So what's the throughput per limiting factor? So 40 divided, and then you open your bracket. It's Ghana cedi per what? Per hour, like this. 30.66. 6.7, right? Then 144 divided by 4.5 divided by 4.5. 144.
divided by 4
Point- Yeah. So 32, and then lastly,
36.66.
so 36.67. Great. So what do you do again? What do you do
You
again?
rank them.
Rank them. So the rank. So ranking. So which one will score first?
36.
So first, I'm using the game of change. Oh. First, who scores second? So like this, oh, in exams. And then third, servicing, now the position has changed, right? When we change from throughput, sometimes the position will not change. I can't remember last sitting, I did a question, came out with the question where the position was still the same. Assuming that the position not change, it's still the same, they've maintained the position, then it will not change the answer, it will not change the output. If the position has been the same, like the first one that we did, we had first, second, and this one was third.
Yes.
Good. This was the first scenario. If the same thing occur using the throughput, don't worry yourself. If you are correct, then continue. It will still give you the same product as the first one. In fact, the throughput and then the contribution, what they tell us is just the position. Which product should we manufacture first? That's all. Don't tell us anything again. So that's the position. So take note. Now we are done. Let's go and calculate the optimum production plan according to the throughput. So that's the last stage. So have you seen that under exam condition, you don't need plenty workings, just this, and then the table, you are done. Mhm. Yes. And realize that they've given you a lot of figures in the question, right? You didn't use, in fact, some of them are not going to even touch them. The moment you touch it, some of the figures are trapped. They are there. If you touch it, anywhere you see it, gone. So that is it. So it means that you have to solve more questions to know the requirement and know what they are expecting of you, and then you'll be fine. Good news. Kindly get it and then jot them down, then go and do the resource allocation and the optimum production plan, and then we are done. So that's the last stage. So let me know when you are done. Thank you. Have any questions? I hope you are getting it right. Let's continue the game. Let's continue the game. So I'll clean it and then we start the ranking again. But don't forget that the first ranking, slight issue with it. So you can revisit it again. I think I'll do the first ranking again for us to correct the position. Great, us to correct the position. So with this one, then we will have rank, still the same. So the rank, the product, and then the units, and then what again? Limiting factor per unit, and then total limiting factor. So we do this nicely. There are three ranks here and three products. So we have first, second, third. So the first one was the last product, so CL, right? Then the second product happened to the middle one, the YS. And then the third one was the first one, CH. So now this one, let's pick the demand correctly. Let's pick the demand correctly. So for CL, that's the last product. The demand for last products happen to be 60. Good. So the last product is what? 60. So the demand for the last product is 60. So that's the CL, 60. Now what's the limiting factor for CL? That's 3. Good. So therefore we have what? 180. Good. Then we go to the second. The one who scored second was YS. Then demand for YS is 70. So demand for YS is 70. So what do we do? So we put the 70 here. Then we go in for the limiting factor. And the limiting factor for YS is what? Is the 4.5. Now if it is 4.5, put it here and do like this. So 70 by 4.5, that will give us 315. Good. So when you get 315, then the last one is what you're going to use, the balancing figure. We only have 600 here. So let me do what? 105. So 105, then you are done. So meanwhile, the limiting factor per unit for that of third, the CH is 1, right? It's 1.5.
It's 1.5.
Okay, then I started again. I started again. There is 1.5 and we have 105 day. How many minutes can it produce? Which would be less
20.
than 100. It's what? 70. Good, 70. So that is it. So therefore, you bring the demand, then you list them down, then you are done. So according to throughput, they should produce the 60, 70, 70, 60, according to what? Throughput. Now let's revisit the first one that we did. Just the last table, then the resources needed, we change them. Meanwhile, the first one, if you remember, this one was the first one, right? And then second was the CL, right? Second was the CL, the last product. This one was the second, and then the third one, right? So let's produce that one again, that table again, the very first table, and let's see. And then there was some error there, so that we can correct it. So we are producing that table alone, assuming that we are preparing the contribution. Contribution gives a rank of this. This was the rank. So I'm going to use that one. So let's do that one small here first, second, and then third. So we are doing that one small one here, small. Oh, that's really cool. The one that scored first was the CH or CL. The one that scored first was what?
You mean the previous one?
It's HC or CH? It's H, not CH. According to your
The
question.
first one.
Yes.
It was CH.
So it should be HC. Good. So he scored first here. So the name of the product was HC. He scored first according to the first one. And then the demand for AC was, that was the 120. Good. And the limiting factor per unit was also what? 1.5. Good. And then we had 80, right? 180. And the one that scored second was the very last product, that's the CL, right? Good. Demand for CL is what? 60. 60. Yes, it's 60. In the original question, it's supposed to be 60. So it's 60. Good. So that is it. Now let's continue. So it will be 60, and then the limiting factor is 3. So you get what? 180. So therefore, the last one, that's YS, will be the balancing figure. That will be 240. So that all will give us what? 600. And then the limiting factor for YS is what? 4.5. So 240 divided by 4.5. So that's 53 units. So that's the end of the game. So therefore, the demand or the production plan for the first one should have been this: 120, 60, and 53, not the one that we had. And then for that of throughput 2 is this. So this is the solution to it, and then you are done. So that's great. Good. So if you do have any question, kindly ask before we move on to the next chapter, and then you are done. I'll urge you all to try more questions on your own and kindly bring them for review. Please, there are two questions. There are two questions that are still pending. In fact, there are three. There are three questions that are still pending. Three questions that are still pending. So the three questions that are still pending. They are, let's go look at them. Question 1. For question 2 is yours, so I wish. Okay, question 2 is a last test. So that one you do it for me. Right one. Right now. You do it now. Question 2 is the one that I was asking for. So question 2, you do it right now, and then you are fine. So to end throughput successfully, then we move on to the next question, the next topic, activity-based costing. Today I will start it and finish it next week, Tuesday. Then these two questions, the question 7 and 8, that one I will solve it if everybody have touched it. Even if one person have not done it, we won't solve it. And it's likely, it's one of the likely ones because the standard of that one to that of your paper is they're in the same word par. So question 2 is yours. A, you are taking 2 minutes for A and 3 minutes for B. So you are taking 5 minutes for question 2. So it's now 7:37, exactly 7:42. Let's make it 43. I'll pick them up. Yes. So that is it. Of that question. Very short. Extremely short. Extremely short. Okay, received. Received. Good, received. Now let's see how best we can do it. So it says the X limited. First, required. Calculate the return per factory hour. So that's the throughput per limiting factor. That is it. So to calculate the throughput per limiting factor, looking for what? Throughput per what? Per the machine hour or the limiting factor. So it said X Limited. Great. So X Limited manufactures a product that requires 1.5. I'm looking for someone's solution. If you see my high, I'm looking for my solution. So high, yes, I'm waiting for. So if you see my high, then let me add another one to it. Looking for the solution. Good. Yes. Good. So let's continue. X Limited manufactures a product that requires 1.5 hours of machine. Machine time is a bottleneck resource. So limiting factor per unit is what? 1.5. Great. Due to limited number of machines available, there are 10 machines available. There are how many machines? 10. And each machine can be used for up to what? 40 hours per week. So if each machine can be used up to 40 hours, so in a week, how many hours do we have? 400 hours, right? We have 400 machine hours. So that's 10 by what? 40. Good. Now, the product is sold for 85 cedis per unit, and then direct material cost is what? 42.5. Total factory cost is 8,000 each week. Calculate the return per factory hour. So first of all, what's the throughput? So you have to calculate the throughput. That is what? Sales 85 minus what? The 42.5. So let's see. So therefore, A. Is a return per factory hour. Return per factory hour will be so therefore throughput or the return itself here will be the throughput, which is equal to 85 less what 42.5, and that will still give us what 0.5. Now the same answer. So therefore the return, that's the return per factory hour, will be the 42.5 divided by what? 1.5 hours. That is it. And that will give us, let's do that one here. So 42.5 divided by 1.5. Yeah. So 28 dot what? 3. Okay, so 28. So to be Ghana city of 28.3 per what? Per hour. 40. Okay, the 40 hours is the total capacity. It's limited to 40 hours in a week, but each limiting factor per unit. So to produce a unit, we need what? 1.5 hours. So therefore, the throughput, this is my throughput per limiting factor. That's 28.3. Then you go to B to get a throughput accounting ratio. We need our throughput per limiting factor. We have it already here. So what left is what? Is the factory cost or the operating cost per limiting factor. So therefore, operating cost per limiting factor will be the total operating cost, which is what? 8,000, right? Or Total operating cost is what? Is $8,000. Then divided by the total machine hours available. We have what? 10 machines available. Each of them work up to what? 40 hours. So therefore, total machine hours should be what? 400 machine hours. So therefore, it will be the $8,000. In fact, it wasn't series. So $8,000 divided by 40 by 10. And that also give us, yes. So therefore, what do we get? So 8,000 by 400, that will give us something like 20.
Yes, please.
So 20 Ghana cedis per hour, or $20 per what? Per hour. So therefore, it's equal to, so therefore, the throughput accounting ratio is equal to the 28.3 divided by what? 20. And that will give us, oh, that side is not coming, sorry. So 1.4, and then we are done. So there's the throughput accounting ratio. So let me scan through the solutions that is the end of throughput. But please, let me 2 questions. These 2 questions, try them. You at least try them. That is the question 7 and question 8. Please try them. Solar coal, large panels and small panel. Don't worry yourself about the plenty of the stuff we are telling you. What matters is the requirement. Have you seen this plenty stuff? The requirement will determine. So calculate the throughput accounting ratio. So you know what, and interpret it. So all of them is going for 20 marks. Wow. So just this question, so you can see how intense it is. Going for 20 marks. So kindly try it. You did try. Give it a try. And then question 9. Question 9. No, question 8. Question. Okay, so this is question 8. So question 8 is also another one. That one is just for 10 marks. Question 9 and 10 are not part of your questions, so that one don't try it for now. And then we are done. So kindly do that for me. Kindly do that for me and you'll be fine. Okay. So question 7 and question 8. Please take your time. One day you do small. One day do small. By the time you realize you are done with it. Okay. I'll pick them up. As soon as it's ready, forward it to me. I'll go through them. But they are past questions, but not our past questions. These are ACCA past questions. That one is ACCA past questions. Then you'll be fine. Good. Now we are done with throughput accounting ratio. Our next topic is the activity-based costing. I'll start the intro today and then we'll finish it Tuesday. Good.